Hi, today we're going to talk about this about earned value analysis. This is the second class of our online classes, and the earned value analysis, which is called EVA, is also known as earned value management, EVM. It relies on the concept of the value of work done. This is very important. The value of work done. Okay, or which is called earned value. So the earned value means how much we have spent for the work that we have done. So once you come for the project in one day, for example, you want to check on the project to check the status of the project. You'll say that today how much work we have done, how much work we have completed, and what is the value of that work. So this is the earned value. So the value of work done is not expenditure. In fact, although eventually equates to the expenditure, but it is often considered as the work in progress and greater than and almost of the time, most of the time, greater than the expenditure itself. Earned value management is an industry standard way to measure the project progress, and as we said in the previous class, we said that the cash flow graphs and all these things, the S curve and all these things will not measure the project progress. And here in the earned value, it is a management or standard that measures the project progress. And also it provides variance of the following during the life cycle of the project. It, it provides you with the variance of the budget itself. So we have a budget for the project. For example, we have like 1 million reals for the project, and we want to check on the budget of this project, whether it will be like it's more than we have spent more than what we are required in that specific date, and if we are working according to the schedule or behind schedule or ahead of schedule, so we can check the variance during the life cycle of the project. And it also helps us to forecast the following at the points of during the life cycle. So during the life cycle itself, when we are checking the budget, when we are checking the schedule also, we also can expect or forecast the final cost of the project, how much we will spend for this project at the end of it. So according to and we will see right now within few minutes, how can we calculate this one. But we need to know that according to the earned value, we can know that this project, and according to the variance that we have, for example, or according to the check of the earned value, how much this project will cost at the end of this project. And also we can expect or forecast the completion date. So according to the schedule variance, whether it's ahead of schedule or behind schedule, we can expect accordingly that this project will end or will finish in this date. By integrating the following three measurements, the three measurements that we will talk about now, it provides consistent numerical indicators which can be used to evaluate and compare the projects. So we will use these terminologies or measurement standards, which is called the planned value, PV, actual cost, which is AC, and earned value. And these are the most important measures that we will use to get all these information. So first of all, we will talk about the planned value, which is called PV. This is the abbreviation. PV stands for planned value. It's also known as BCWS, and BCWS is called baseline cost of work scheduled. And what does this mean? What does the baseline cost of work scheduled? The baseline cost of work scheduled, it represents the planned cost of the work to be carried out at the time in question. So what does this mean? This means that we have talked about the baseline cost, and this one is in the planning phase. And when we said that the baseline cost, that there is a budget we have specified for this project, this is called the baseline cost, and how much we have planned for the cost for this work according to the schedule of the project. So during the progress of the project, this date is taken from the original plan and the price proposal submitted by the contractor at the tendering stage. So at that stage, you have submitted some prices or cost some prices for the tendering purpose, and you have a schedule. So baseline cost, that price you have submitted, that planned price for that work, and for that, according to that schedule, you can compare it together. Both of these things, two things, will make the baseline cost of work schedule. So now we have a baseline cost and we have a work schedule. So according to the schedule, we have to pay this much of money according to our plan, according to our basic plan that we have submitted at the beginning of this project at the tendering stage. The other terminology that we have is actual cost, which is AC. AC stands for actual cost, and it's also known as actual cost of work performed. So now we have work performed. Okay, today I'm coming to the project, and I want to know how much work has been performed until this date. Okay, so as of today, I have completed this much of work. So just you will ask the accounts, you will ask the finance department how much we have spent for this work that we have performed, actually we have performed. So this is called actual cost of work performed, which is called also actual cost. It represents the actual cost of the work that was carried out at the time in question. When we are asking according to the work that we have performed up to date. Okay, how much we have spent, you have the records, you have the registers, and you will see how much you have actually spent for this work. Okay, the other thing is that this value cannot be determined for points of time in the future. Why? Because it is actual cost. So you cannot get these information unless you have already paid these costs to know the actual cost of the work performed. So you have a work performed and you have actual cost that has already been paid. During the progress of the project, this data is taken from the actual work done by the contractor at the site up to a certain point. Okay, the third one is which is called the earned value, which is called EV. And this is also known as a baseline cost of work performed. Again, we have work performed here and we have work performed here also. So here, this is the same work. This is the same amount of work. We came for this today and we want to check that that work that we have done. So the same amount of work, and this work is work performed. This work performed is the same work performed. But here, how much we have spent so far, actual cost. And here, what we have supposed to spend for this work that we have performed up to date. So this is what this is the difference between these two measurements: the actual cost and earned value. So it represents the cost of the work performed by taking the actual quantity performed and comparing the actual quantity that we have already checked here, but here we have checked it against the actual cost. Now we are checking the actual quantity performed against the planned cost or the planned price that we have submitted already, and comparing it with the original rates proposed by the contractor. Okay, this is done to answer the following questions in management. If the work that has been performed to date was carried at BOQ rates, what would be the amount of money spent? Okay, and we will have an example for this one. It will be more clear for you. Okay, so for this one, the cost variance which is called CV, is a comparison of the planned cost of the work actually performed to do the actual cost of the work carried out. So that means we want to know how much, what is the difference in cost between the actual and the planned. So a positive cost variance values shows that the project is cheaper than expected, and a negative cost variance shows that the project is more expensive than expected. So we have this formula here, and it says that cost variance, it is baseline cost of work performed minus actual cost of work performed. Baseline cost of work performed, which is called the earned value, EV minus AC. And something else we have here, the schedule variance, because we have these variables, cost and schedule. So SV, schedule variance, is a comparison of the amount of work performed during the given period of time to what was scheduled to be performed. So what is the difference in schedule wise? We are talking how much we have performed this of work, what is the amount of the quantity of the work that we have done until today, the given time period, okay, and how much time we needed to perform this time of this much of work to what was scheduled to be performed. So we have a schedule, and we have until this date we have to complete this much of work. But until this date, how much really actually we have performed. So this is the schedule variance. The difference between these two things is called the schedule variance. So a positive schedule variance value shows that the project is ahead of schedule. A negative variance shows that the project is behind schedule. And this is the formula that we will use: SV, baseline cost of work performed, minus baseline cost of work schedule, which means EV minus PV. So a negative cost here, you can change it. This one, it's a typo. A negative schedule variance. Okay, so before we go to the, I will leave the example at the end of this class, and let's go take these two important things. Then afterwards we can go back to the to our example that might make it clearer for you. All these terminology and all what we have explained, it will make it clearer for you. So let's talk about the cost performance index, which is called CPI, abbreviated as CPI, represented the amount of work being completed on a project for every unit of cost spent. A value greater than 1 shows that the project is cheaper than expected, and a negative cost, it's not the negative cost, you need this also typo, less than 1, cost variance shows that the project so that the project shows that the project is more expensive than expected. Okay, so the CPI formulas: CPI equals baseline cost of work performed over the actual cost of work performed. Then you can estimate the final cost of the project. The final cost of the project according to the CPI that we will have here. So the final cost of the project can then be estimated according to the following formula. Easily, you can say the final cost estimated, the original cost estimate, how much you have budgeted for this project, over the CPI, you will get the final cost of the project at the final cost at the end of the project. That means how much we will spend for this project to be completed. The same thing for the applies for the schedule performance index, which represents that how close the actual work is being completed compared to the schedule. A value greater than 1 shows that the project is ahead of schedule. A negative, it's not negative, also here we have typo, less than 1, the schedule variance shows that the project is behind schedule. So now we have this formula also: SPI, baseline cost of work performed, and baseline cost of work scheduled. Okay, and you can see here everything is calculated according to money. It's cost. Even the schedule itself, it is calculated by money. So how much we are ahead of schedule or behind schedule by in terms of numbers, in terms of not days, and not months, not weeks, in terms of money. We are behind schedule by this much of money, ahead of schedule by this much of money. And this we will take it here in this example for the next class. So afterwards, how we know the final schedule estimate? The original schedule estimate, schedule estimate over the SPI. So now let's go for the example that will show or make all these things clearer for you. Okay, so we have this example. Let's say that we have a boundary wall. It's just like a plot. It's like a square shape, and this is a boundary wall. 4 sides we have, and our fencing, let's say, and we want to plan for this project. So for each, by the way, this is like inspired or taken by Miss Aileen, and this work needs to be planned for. So this is why we have like scope, schedule, and budget. So when we want to plan for a project, we need to have a scope first, then I have schedule, then we have to have a budget. So this is our planning. So according to the scope of this project, we have a project of fencing this plot with 4 sides of fence. So this is the scope of our project, and the schedule is that we need 4 days for this project. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We have 4 days for this project, and 1 side a day. We have to complete 1 side a day. And this is our schedule. And for the budget, we have to spend 100 reals per side. We have to spend 100 reals per side. So we have 100 reals per side. That means this total budget for the project is 400 reals. That means total is 400 reals. Okay, so now the problem statement says that once on Tuesday, end of Tuesday, okay, which is this day, the second day, end of Tuesday, 1 side is complete, okay, and we have spent the 400 Oman reals. So we have spent 400 reals. So let's see what happened in this project. According to the PV that we have, we said that the PV is baseline cost of work schedule, So the PV, how much we have to have finished in this day, Tuesday, we have to be finished 2 sides, and the 2 sides, by logic it is 2 sides, but we said that everything we have to calculate in this by money. So PV means baseline cost of work scheduled. So according to the schedule, this is the second day. So we have to be the work has to be completed is 2 sides, and the amount of this work or the expenditure of this work is 200 reals. So baseline cost of work scheduled. Baseline cost of work scheduled. The work scheduled is so the second day. According to the work schedule, PV says that the baseline cost, the prices that we have submitted at the beginning of the project while tendering for this project, okay, according to the work schedule is 200 reals, because we have to finish 2 sides on Tuesday. The question said that we have completed 1 side. This is the actual work performed. But we are saying that we want PV, and PV says that this is a baseline cost for work schedule. So baseline cost, this is 100 reals per side, and work schedule, it has to be 2 sides finished in this date. So this is why it is 200 reals. Okay, let's go for the actual cost. If we ask you for the actual cost, it means actual cost of work performed. So the actual cost of work performed, it can be taken from the question itself. So we have spent 400 so far. So actual cost means that the amount of money that has been spent so far. So this is why it's the simplest thing that we can take from we can solve, because it's just like can be taken from the problem statement, which is here. Okay. The other thing, if we ask you about the earned value, which is the baseline cost of work performed, how much work is completed? This means how much work is completed. How much work is completed? It says one side completed. That means one side, how much work, earned value, a baseline cost of work performed, and how much work completed. We have completed one side, and this baseline cost for this work performed should be 100 riyals, because the EV it is the baseline cost of work performed. So the work performed here, one side, and the baseline cost for one side is 100 riyals. So 100 riyals, it should be 100 riyals for this work. However, 100 riyals, it should be 100 riyals for this work performed, but we have spent, or however, we have spent 400 riyals, which is very bad. Okay, now let's go for something else, which we have taken also, the schedule variance. The schedule variance, it is EV minus PV. EV minus PV. EV, baseline cost of work performed, minus actual cost of work performed. By logic, the schedule variance, baseline cost of work performed, EV minus PV, which is baseline cost of work performed minus the baseline cost of work scheduled. So this means that we have 100 riyals minus 200 riyals will be negative. Okay, sign we have here 100 riyals. That means this is behind schedule. This is behind schedule. Why? Because we have finished only one side, the schedule variance, baseline cost of work performed. We have performed one side only, but according to the schedule it should be two sides on the second day. So we have one side behind, which is minus here, negative. Okay, negative sign. Okay, so change it to the monetary. It has to be a monetary. It hasn't to be like this logic. However, you have to understand these questions by logic, but you have also formulas here. You can follow these formulas, and as we said that this one is a monetary, and it has to be calculated by money. This is why we will say that we have 100 riyals, because according to the baseline cost of work performed, it should be 100 riyals, but however, two sides, baseline cost of work scheduled, it has to be 200 riyals. So we are behind schedule of 100 riyals. And cost variance, we have here the cost variance. How much we have spent? We have one side completed only. We have one side completed only. The cost variance, it is EV minus AC, which means baseline cost of work performed. The baseline cost of work performed, we have completed only one side on the second day, and the baseline cost for this one side is 100 riyals. However, the actual cost was 400 riyals of the work performed for that one side, which means negative 300 riyals means 300 riyals over run. So this is an example. I hope it has been more clearer for you according to this example. Thank you very much for watching, and see you inshallah in the next class, which is the third online class. Thank you very much.